In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. It's Untethered Live on a Sunday night. I'm your host, Jake Johnson, and tonight we're going to enter the new book, the Book of Enoch, the book that originally was in the Bible and then was taken out of the Bible, and it still remains in some parts of the world, but for the most part, it is a separate issue. It is non-biblical, but written by the same people that lived at the same time with the same ideas and is part of the religion that we currently practice. So it's worth understanding and handling and grasping, wrapping your mind around it. It's worth having it in there. So we're going to take a look at it for the next couple of weeks and see what we learn. This is not my field of study. I am new to this book as you are. Not quite as new. I've done a little studying beforehand. I understand what's in it. I haven't delved into it like I have the Bible. I haven't spent 40 years studying it. But it is new, and it is part of the religion, so it is something that we need to have in the pantheon of things that we know. So that's what we're going to do. Just bear in mind, this is not my expertise, so I'm not going to offer any commentary where I don't understand or where I don't have a concrete answer. I'm as in the dark as you are on that. So, that being said, who's first in chat? Judy is first in chat. Judy, you get the gold star for being first in chat. She says, hey, Jake and Amanda, Kevin is being nice again. Oh, dastardly Kevin, how dare you be nice again? Haven't I told you about that? Kevin's a good dude. Hopefully my computer will work tonight. What did Kevin do that's so nice? I don't understand. I'm assuming it has to do with your computer. But Kevin's a good dude. I found that out. Amanda says, Judy, here's your gold star. And hi, Judy. I hope you enjoy. Is that your first gold star? Surely not. And Amanda says, hi, Untethered Live family. Good to see you all. I hope everyone had a good day and is staying warm. Burr. And hi, Jake. How are you tonight? I'm cold. How do you think I am? It's 20 degrees outside and windy. Cutting through the windows like a hot knife through butter. Other than that, though, I'm pretty good. I had a nice dinner. Lovely. I'm full. I'm content. I have my friends. And I have a brand new book to study. I couldn't ask for a better day. How about that? Judy says, thanks to Kevin. What? Thanks to Kevin for what? I don't understand. Judy says, I stayed inside most of the day. It's 7 degrees here right now. Wow. I'm 20 degrees higher than you. Amanda says, hang on. Here we go. We did too. Stay inside. It's 26 degrees here now and wet. It has been raining all day. It was pouring rain about 4:30 this morning and going to be 18 degrees tonight. Yes, cold. So if you have blankets, bundle up. If you have heaters, turn them on. If you got footy socks, put them on. And if you got a nice hot cup of coffee, join me. Don't you want to have a cup of coffee with me and talk about the Book of Enoch? Thank you to the person that provides the coffee for the show. This is a regular cup of joe, and I appreciate it, don't you know? If you want to have a cup with me, go to the kitchen, pour yourself up a nice hot cup, and let's get to talking about it. If you don't have a cup, though, you can get one in the description below. I recommend the first one. It has my face on it. It is fantastic, of course. But we also have stainless steel tumblers The big ones and the little ones. They got locking lids. Keep your coffee hot for hours. They look great on your coffee table. And if you chuck them at somebody, it'll leave a mark. They also got the Untethered Live Bible Study logo on the front and on the platforms on the back. It is a great buy. We also got chainsaw blade sharpeners and twisty ties. You know those little twisty ties? I'm not sure about those last two, but definitely the cups. Check those out. Like, subscribe, share, support, join, and super chats are available in the chat box. If you want to show a little bit of love, if you want to, do the thing, that thing, you can do that at CashApp $JakeJohnsonband if you so choose, and I wish you would. I appreciate that very much. It helps us stay warm around here. So, all right, one last thing. If you would like to hang out outside of the YouTuberverse, or if you would like to convey private information amongst yourselves, you can go to Facebook.com/UntetheredLive chillin' and join the page. It is regularly updated with memes and keeps all of those memes are related to tangentially the things that we talk about on the show. It is entertaining. It's fun. It's just us. It's not like regular YouTube. It's just regular Facebook. It's just us. And it's a great time, so go check it out. But we also have a group chat attached. If you have Facebook Messenger, you don't need to have Facebook. Join the group chat, and you can stay up to date and ask questions amongst everybody here. Personal stuff that you don't want to put out on the internet. That's the place to do that. It is the platform provided, and for now, it'll have to do. So go check it out. And now, without further ado, who's next? Madison. Madison Square Gardens is up. She says, "Hey, Jake and everyone." Madison, how are you, lovely? Nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. Amanda says, "Hi, Madison." And Judy says, "Hey, Madison." Debbie says, "Hello, everyone." Hi, Debbie. Welcome. Come on in. Take your shoes off. Or not. It's cold. Maybe keep them on. Amanda says, "Hi, Debbie." Judy says, "Hey, Debbie." Linda's here. She says, "Hi, Jake and Amanda, Judy, Madison, and Debbie." Hi, Linda. How are you, sweet lady? I got a shirt today in the mail. It says, "When God created you, He grinned and said, 'This is going to be fun.'" Yep. I love it. I love all my shirts. Thank you all very much for the birthday gifts. Made my week special. You showed me a lot of love, a lot of appreciation, and about half a night of replying to birthday wishes on Facebook. I try to make sure I get everyone. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. I tried. They're kind of all over the place. But I did my best, and you guys really pulled it together, made it special, so I appreciate that. It's probably one of the best birthdays I've had in a long time, so thank you. Madison says, "I swear that jump scares me every time the stream starts and I have my AirPods in." LOL. What jump scare? Which one? The intro of my show? Is it got a jump scare in it? I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was jarring. Amanda says, "Hi, Linda Hud." And LOL Madison. Amy's here. She says, "Liked, shared, and invited some friends." Hello, Amy. How are you, sweet dear? Sorry, I'm a little scratchy. I'm getting there. Amanda says, "Hi, Amy." Linda says, "Hey, Amy Hart." Amber Grounds is here. She says, "Good evening, family." Amber, how are you? Judy says, "Hey, Linda." Amy says, "Hey, everyone." Amanda says, "Hi, Amber." Judy says, "Hey, Amy, feeling better?" Yeah, how you feeling, Amy? We've been thinking about you. Bill Bennett says, "Hello, fam. Happy day. Happy day of rest. Good to see you all." Right on, Bill. Day of rest is on Saturday, though, but I get your point, and I appreciate it. Somehow or other, one of the popes decided to switch it over for the sake of a work week. Make the work week longer. Not really a good idea, but if you follow the Jewish calendar, it's always been on a Saturday. Judy says, "Hey, Amber." And Amanda says, "Here's the link to the Facebook page if anybody wants to check that out." And hi, Bill. Linda says, "Hey, Amber and Bill." Judy says, "Hey, Bill." Madison says, my favorite book. Really? This will be my first time all the way through it, cover to cover. I've read bits and pieces of it and studying and connecting dots and things, but I've never actually went all the way through it. So this is not my field of expertise. I am an authority on Genesis, Revelations, things like that. I am not on Enoch. I'm as new to it as you guys are, maybe a little less, but pretty relatively new. But we're going to find out what's in it anyway. Judy says, yay, yay. He tells me, hold on, my chat jumped. Where'd it go? It's so annoying. He tells me you're up so I can get the gold star. Who tells you I'm up? Oh, Kevin does? I'm here at 8:30 every night except for Tuesday and Thursday. It's not hard to memorize. 8:30. 8 o'clock on Sunday. But I'm glad he keeps you posted because we need you. You're a very good addition to the team. Amber says, prayers and hearts. And Amy says, 4 degrees here. Jesus, Amy. Are you bundled up? I hope so. It's in the 20s here, but the wind is whipping like a hurricane outside. I mean, you can hear it coming in through the windows. Like the old horror movies. It's actually whistling. Howling and moaning and such. Amy says, luckily I still have water, right? Keep it dripping. Keep your faucet dripping so you don't lose pipes. Because if they freeze over, they'll bust. So, but if it stays dripping, it'll stay running. It'll keep a stream through there so it won't freeze all the way. Amanda says, you got a bunch of that white stuff, Amy. LOL. Burr, yeah, I saw a picture of your yard or your area. Very snowy. And Madison says, I don't have coffee because I would be up all night. That's the point of coffee. Yes, you got it. But I do have rum. Might do some old fashions. Hey, I'll take it. An old fashioned to my cup of coffee. Cheers. I don't drink alcohol, so I couldn't do an old fashioned with you, but it's not a religious thing. It just doesn't work with me. Me and drunk doesn't suit me well. I tend to be more of an asshole. Shockingly. Amy says, yes, ma'am. Cold and snow. Oh, yeah. Well, please be safe and stay warm. Stay bundled up. Get you a puppy dog. Stick it down in your shirt or something. Amber says, Amy, how many blankets do you have? All of them. All of them. Yes. A's seem to be a problem for me. Every time I say an A, my voice craps out. You notice that? Amy says, looking forward to the lesson. I'm really in a bad spot this evening. Well, Amy, I love you, and I'm praying for you, as I always do. Tonight's lesson is going to be in the book of Enoch, so it probably ain't going to be a salvation or a blessing type lesson. I don't know what it would do to benefit you other than for knowledge's sake or to keep your mind off of it. But you know you got a friend, and if you're in need, reach out. If nothing else, we'll be here with you while you go through it. Tight spot seems to be the trend of this year. We're all in tight spots, but we have each other, and that's not nothing. It's okay to struggle if you're with company. People that love you, people that stand by your side, people that have your back. That's worth all the struggle in the world. Amber says, I worry about you so. Yes, it's very cold out there, and she's in a very thin container. So I hope you do have all the blankets. Jim High says, Book of Enoch is not biblical. It's not God's word, but the 66 books of the King James are. Yes, and I'll do the teaching, Jim High. Thank you for pointing that out. I think I've already pointed that out. But you're welcome to stick around and listen. Yes, the 66 books of the King James Bible are, and I did a video on that. You'd have to look for it, but it is about the lineage of the translations and how they come to be. And the King James Version is the only translation that can be traced back all the way to Antioch at its inception, and all the steps in between are known. So it is the most trustworthy and the closest translation that we have on planet Earth. It isn't perfect, but that's why you have scholars like me that can point out the places where it's not perfect and show what the right thing is. Obviously, you won't be able to figure that out unless you sit and listen for a while, but you're welcome to do so. Hit that subscribe button and join us. Come be part of the winter team. Amy says, welcome, Jim High. We know this, but we are reading it. We are starting the Bible over in January. Please join us. Yes, we will be starting Genesis 1:1 in the first week of January. Come join us. And we will continue right on through to the end of Revelations and do it again. Second verse, same as the first. I'm Henry VIII, I am. And I am the very model of a modern major general. Amanda says, we know this, Jim High, but that's already the same thing, isn't it? Oh, thanks is not the same thing. It just started the same way. We know this, Jim High. Thanks. It is written by the same people as the Bible. Right. Well, not exactly. It's written by Enoch according to this book. But Enoch is Adam's grandson, great grandson. So, yeah. Linda says, Jake just explained that, Jim High. Thank you. Madison says, the music starts out of nowhere, 𝕊𝕬𝕬𝕪. It's fine, I just forget about it, and all of a sudden, there's a full blast guitar solo in my ears. Are you hearing the same thing I'm hearing? Hold on, we gotta figure this out.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God.
Is that what you're talking about? That part? I can see why that would be shocking if you weren't expecting it. Interesting. I'll have to try to soften that up a little bit. I didn't realize it was a shocker. Or maybe it's supposed to be. It gets your attention like, hey, Jake's coming. Maybe. I don't know. What do you think? Amber says, yes, LOL. She is correct. The chill to flash of live is jarring. I always kind of jump. The chill to flash of live. I don't. Judy says, hey, Jim High. Amber says, Madison, smiley face with herpes and dancing girls. Madison says, Amber, a few joints deep. I can't be caught lacking like that, 𝕊𝕬𝕬𝕪. There's my sister. Hello, all. Hi, Missy doll. How are you? How art thou? Nice to see you. Come on in, pull up a chair. We're just getting ready to blast off into the book of Enoch. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be fantastic. This is my sister, everybody. Melissa, everybody, Melissa. Amy says, hi, Melissa. Amanda says, hey, Missy. Judy says, hi, Missy. And then my chat jumped. Got it. Linda says, hi, Missy. Amber says, LOL, Madison. Miss Lady, sit to my left. Pass. Melissa says, hello, Judy and Amanda. And everybody else. Amy says, set your notification bell and get notifications when he posts the stream. That's right. If you hit the bell icon and hit all, every time I go live about 30 minutes beforehand, you'll get a notification. Get you ready for it. That way you'll know it's coming. Amber says, welcome, Melissa. Kevin Bernard, St. Bernard, how you doing, brother? I've heard you've been nice. Kevin says, hello, Jake, Amanda, and everyone. Nice to see you, my friend. Curious Squirrel. Now, there's a name I hadn't heard in a long time. Hi, Curious Squirrel. All my faucets are dripping. Single digits here. Good evening, all. Hello, Curious Squirrel. Welcome back. Long time no see. How are you? And Merry Christmas. Amanda says, hi, Kevin. Judy says, hey, Kevin. Amy says, hey, Pop Pop. Pop Pop. Pop Pop. Pop Pop. I like it. What? Kevin's Pop Pop. Okay. Amanda says, hi, Squirrel. Long time no see. How you been? And Linda says, Amy, for some reason, YouTube doesn't notify me even though I have the bell on for notifications. That is weird. I've also heard that some people aren't getting them until after the show starts. I don't know why. I post them at 6 o'clock. I start preparing for the show at 6 o'clock. So by 8, it should go out. I don't know why it doesn't. Amy says, welcome, Curious Squirrel. Amber says, Squirrel, welcome to Bible study. Linda says, hi, Kevin. Amy says, Jake. More of a blank. More of a blank? Yes, I understand. Amy says, Jake released the Kraken. I have my own emojis. How about that? Curious Squirrel says, hello, Amy and Amanda. Good to be here. I'm going to wrap up my blanket and listen. That sounds like a good plan. Get you a nice hot cup of cocoa, wrap up like a snug bug in a rug, and listen to some Bible-ish. Some old Bible. It's not Bible anymore. The book of Enoch is not biblical text. It is text that was written at that time. It is a part of the religion that we believe in. It's a part of the formation of that religion. It's a continuation of things that we don't talk about sometimes in the Bible. But for whatever reason, it was taken out. And to that I say, if God can inspire the Bible, I have no problem with him editing it. So if he wants that in there or out of there. So to that, I say with all books, if it agrees with the Bible, good. If it disagrees with the Bible, put it on a shelf. You don't have to follow that. But it's worth knowing about. Amber says, go A-Team. I think that's how cheerleaders do it. I'll pray for us all. Or y'all pray for us all. I pray for you twice a week, whether you need it or not. Believe that. Every week. Never fail. It is part of my routine. Amanda says, nice, Squirrel. Enjoy. Curious Squirrel says, lurking is my specialty. Well, I hope you've been lurking a while. I hope you didn't just bail on us. But even if you did, that's fine. I welcome you back in with open arms. Any chance I get to be with a good person, I like it. Amber says, fabulous. I'm fabulous. I can't even say it. My voice is cracking too hard. Diamonds and black hearts. Madison says, we don't leave faucets dripping in Canada, but I would assume our pipes are more insulated for colder weather. I would assume that you guys have that built into the idea of building a house. You consider that when building the house. We don't. We just build houses. So our pipes freeze regularly. You guys like half the year's cold, right? So I would imagine that you're prepared for it. But I assure you, if you just have regular old PVC pipes or copper pipes in your house with no insulation, they will absolutely crack every winter if you don't keep them dripping. It's also probably a different kind of cold in Canada. I've never been there, so I don't know, but I would imagine it's drier because you're not so close to the oceans. I've never lived anywhere but the East Coast, so I've always had an ocean to one side, pretty close. Amy says, Madison, I thought the houses were made of snow in Canada. Igloos? Debbie says, I married the widow next door, and she has been married 7 times before. That's the Henry VIII I am thing. Madison says, yes, and we ride to work on seals, Amy. Get up, seal. Oh, 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 oh. That's awesome. Amy says, and polar bears. No, those things will eat you. Stay away from polar bears. They're very strong, and they do not see you as people. You ever see that cartoon back in the 70s where the guy's on the little tiny island with the one palm tree, him and his buddy, and they're out there starving to death, and then he looks at his buddy, and his buddy, while he's talking to him, kind of turns into a chicken leg? That's how polar bears see us. Ain't paying attention to what you're saying. He's just looking at that chicken leg. Chat jumped, hang on. Madison says, nope, it's before that, where it says stream starting soon, and the guitar solo starts. The only one I can think of there would be the countdown. Oh, I know what you're talking about, the music. We have figured it out. That's what you're talking about. I got it. So I guess when it connects to the internet, it just starts wherever it's playing at, and sometimes that might be right at the middle of a crescendo. I get it. That makes a whole lot more sense. I'm racking my brain trying to think about my opening. Like, what part of that's a jump scare? I get it. That makes sense. Amber says, yes, the laser, L-O-L-O-L-O-L-O-L-O-L-O. I start my coffee. All right. You start your coffee with a laser? Pew. Judy says, hey, squirrel. Melissa says, hi, Amy and Linda. John, what's up, brother? My brother John from across the pond. He's 007 out there living in heaven. And John says, good evening, everyone. Prayers for Australia today. 13 people dead and 30 injured in another mass shooting. Prayers to everyone involved. Wait, I thought Australia banned guns. Aren't they one of the countries that have the most strenuous gun laws? That people aren't even allowed to have guns in Australia? How did a shooting like that occur? If you didn't know better, you'd almost think that banning guns doesn't work because criminals don't follow laws. Sorry, my nose is itching. Amanda says, hi, Nugget. Amy says, hi, John Nugget. Linda says, hi, Nugget. Amber says, Nugget, prayers and hearts and smiley faces. And Judy says, hey, Nugget. Madison says, I think it's 15 people now dead. R.I.P. One person is too many. We really need to figure out what's causing this and stop liberals from getting elected, or whatever's causing it. Judy says, sad, Madison and Nugget. It is sad. Madison says, Mabel does the most beautiful prayers you've ever need one. If you ever need one, she is lovely. She is, and I've heard a couple of them. It's very well thought out and very poetic. You are right. She is a good prayer. Kevin says, has everybody hit that like button? Have you hit your like button? Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Please do if you haven't done so. It does help the channel, and I do appreciate it. And Judy says, number 2. Amy says, I know a lot of the lurkers. Nothing wrong with hanging back and listening as long as they click that like button. Amen to that. As long as they're showing up, I'm happy with it. They don't have to talk. I'd like it if you did. I'd like to get to know you if you're out there lurking. I would like to see who I'm talking to, but as long as you're here and engaged with the word, that's all I can ask for. And Madison says, Central Canada, yes. Alberta has very dry winters, and the coasts get more of the humid cold, like Nova Scotia, that kind of area. Lady B says, hey, everyone. Hi, Lady B. Welcome. Where are we at? Chat jumped again. Thank you. Judy says, hey, Lady B. And Amanda says, hi, Lady. Amy says, hi, Lady B. And Lady B says, love y'all, heart. Bill Bennett says 0 degrees out here in Indiana. And forecast says 55 Thursday. Good old Midwest weather. You don't like it, wait a few hours, right? It will change rapidly. It's hard to believe it's 0 degrees already. Man, please stay warm out there. Amy says, right, Bill? I'm in Indiana, too. Lady B says, stay warm, Bill. Amber says, y'all, my blood sugar just tested 132. That's good, right? Considering it's been like 300 and 260. Lady B says, nice, Amber. Amanda says, congratulations, Amber. That's way better than it has been, right? Amber says, just now tested 132. Keep doing what you're doing. Amber says, love y'all. Thank you for the prayers. Hearts and prayers. Smiley faces and prayers. Lady B says, who passed? That's a large number. People in Australia. Amy says, there was also something going on at Brown University. Yeah, that was yesterday. Or it happened yesterday or day before yesterday, and they were talking about it yesterday. And or are you saying there's another thing happening at Brown University? Amber says, Lady B, welcome. Lady B says, oh no, a shooting or something. Yes. Lady B says, thank you, Amber. Amber, sweetheart. Judy says, yay, Amber, 132 is good. Amber says, okay, I'll hush again so we can study. Amy says, Lady B, a mass shooting in Australia. John says, mindless violence against Jewish people and Christians. This needs to stop. I agree wholeheartedly. Violence is not the answer. If you're listening to this podcast, put the gun down and pick up the Bible. That's where your answers are. It is not at the end of it's not at the business end of a gun. Believe that. Lady B says, prayers to all, Amy. Amy says, just the one. Judy says, so right, Nugget. Lady B says, Nugget makes me sad. Everything's going on. Oh, Nugget, stop making Lady B sad. You bad boy. Kevin says, my boss was visiting his son at Brown, and he's stuck there in the lockdown. That's terrible. For more than one reason. Is his son okay? His son wasn't involved, I hope. And Lady B says, amen, Jake, pick up the Bible. I will. Listen, there's a lot of bad things in this world. Son's fine, and that's good. Thank God. Amen to that, Kevin. There's a lot of things in this world that drive people to do many, many things. And here lately, it's been driving them to do ever increasingly violent things. That is the forces of good and evil at play in the world. They have been pushing on the world since the beginning, and there's no exception now. Only for a short period of time, it's going to appear like the evil is winning because it's its time to shine. We are entering into a period of time that the Bible calls the tribulation. It's going to get worse. There's no escaping it. There's no way to stop it. You just have to grit your teeth and get through it. And the way you do that is by being faithful to God and following His word. That's it. It's the only thing you can do. And not partake in what's going on. Stay away from it. Stay out of it. Stay in the house. Stay with your study group. Whatever it is you're doing, stay out of the violence. But it's going to happen. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It's meant to happen. That's all I can tell you. That's the only comfort I can give you is that there is something at the end of all of this, and it is the return of Christ. and he will make all things better when he shows up. But until then, we got a hard road to hoe. We just read Revelations. All of that's going to happen. So you can look forward to it. It's going to happen. If it happens in your lifetime, it's going to be bad. Hopefully, us personally, can die before the worst of it happens. But I don't think so. I think it's going to happen relatively soon. That's just my opinion, but it's a well-educated opinion. So the only hope you got is to trust God, understand that all this was foretold from the beginning, and there is a plan to it. It's not random, and it's not just senseless violence. There's a reason it's happening. But it won't last forever. Amy says, did they catch the guy, Kevin? Kevin says, person of interest is all I know. Amanda says, I heard it was a father and a son, and both are dead now. Well, if they're caused that kind of violence, I hope so. Lady B says, retype, Nugget, all this violence makes me sad. You don't make me sad. You're an inspiration. I know that, and he knows that too. I was just being silly. Lady B says, oh no, Amanda. Amy says, seriously, your chat's going to jump. No, Amy says, absolutely. Demons are scared of Jesus. Every biblical podcast I watched today was swarmed by demonic trolls. Yes, and they're here too. This is no exception. Watch it, it'll happen. Pay attention, you'll see it happening. Right in front of your face. But that's a good thing. You know why? Because when you're over the target, that's when you get the most flack. They don't attack you if you're not doing God's work. If you're not in danger of falling into God's grace, demons will leave you alone. They won't bother you. They only show their ugly heads when you're close to God. They don't want you close to God. So that means you're on the right track. I welcome it. Bring it on, evil demon. You can't touch this group. Lady B says, oh my gosh, Kevin. Debbie says, God never promises an easy road. No, he does not. But he does promise a soft landing. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah, this idea that God will never put on you more than you can handle, that's not in the Bible. I don't know where that came from, but it's not biblical. God often puts on you more than you can handle and expects you to handle it anyway. But he always gives you a way out. That's the thing. No matter what you're going through, there's always a path through it. You just have to look for it. Amy says, amen, Debbie. And Amanda says, yes, Debbie. Lays us on a big fluffy cloud. Kevin says, I will never be able to wrap my head around indiscriminate taking of life. I don't think you're supposed to, Kevin. That's a very evil, selfish thing that people do. And I think there's people out there worried about demons and monsters. The most evil things I've ever seen came from man. I don't know that a demon can do worse. So, really the only thing you can do is pray and try to stay away from people like that. Lady B says, Kevin, it's a very selfish act for sure. Amy says, Mountain Dew break, yay. I got you. Judy says, me either, Kevin. All right. If you happen to have a copy of the book of Enoch, grab it and open it to the first chapter. If you do not, I will provide one for you. It is available. You can download the book, by the way. You can go to Gutenberg Project, or you can just type in the word Book of Enoch, and there are apps that will open it for you, and you can download them for free. So check them out if you want to do that. Put it on your phone and follow through as we go. And we will endeavor to delve ever deeper into the mysteries that are the beginning of all things and what came before. Let's go down, shall we? Chapter 1, verse 1, the book of the Watchers. And it reads, The words of the blessing of Enoch, wherewith he was blessed, or wherewith he blessed the elect and righteous who will be living in the day of tribulation. What does that mean? That means that the elect, the 144,000 chosen people by God, will be alive during the tribulation. Does the first line of the book of Enoch discredit the rapture theory? Yes, it does. If the elect aren't raptured away, the rapture doesn't exist. So there it is. There's the proof that you've been looking for in another book, oddly enough. Hang on one second. Let me mark my chat so I don't miss my place. So the elect and the righteous will be living in the day of tribulation. That's now, by the way. A time when all the wicked and godless are to be removed. And he took up his parable and said, Enoch, a righteous man, whose eyes were opened by God, saw the vision of the Holy One in heavens plural, which the angels showed me. Which angels? The angels that are in heaven, the host. When God said, let us make man in our image, he was talking to the host. Among them were the angels that are in creation at that time. Some of them came to earth, left their habitation and came to earth. Some of them stayed in heaven and did what God told them to do. So there's a separation, a divide in heaven. Good angels and not so good angels. I wouldn't know if I'd call them evil, but they're definitely not on God's side. But apparently, the angels interacted with Enoch and showed him everything. Remember, Enoch is one of the guys that never died. He did not die. He was taken in his physical form and transfigured into heaven. That's why I think he'll be one of the witnesses at the end, one of the two witnesses that come back, because he hadn't died yet, but he has to. It's appointed to every man to die, so he has to die still. So Enoch took up his parable and said, Enoch, a righteous man, whose eyes were opened by God, saw the vision of the Holy One in the heavens, which the angels showed me, and from them I heard everything, and from them I understood as I saw. Meaning, I may not have understood everything they were saying, but I got the gist of what I was looking at. I understood as I saw. But not for this generation, not his generation, but for a remote one, which is for to come. That's us. We are the remote generation Enoch spoke about. Keep that in your mind. Concerning the elect, I said, and took up my parable concerning them, the Holy Great One will come forth from his dwelling, and the eternal God will tread upon the earth, even on Mount Sinai, and appear from his camp, and appear in the strength of his might, from the heaven of heavens, singular to plural. So there are three heavens above earth. That is the firmament. The heavens where the birds fly, the heavens where the stars are, and the heavens where God is. And then inside of that is like a holiest of holies, a heaven where God habitates, his heaven, where only he is. So the heaven of heavens, which is higher than the third heaven. So, this is the only place that that's talked about that I'm aware of. And all shall be smitten with fear, and the watchers shall quake, and the great fear and trembling shall seize them unto the ends of the earth. And the high mountains shall be shaken, and the high hills shall be made low, and shall melt like wax before the flame. And the earth shall be wholly rent asunder, meaning it'll be torn apart. And all that is upon the earth shall perish, and there shall be a judgment upon all men. But the righteous he will make peace, and will protect the elect. And mercy shall be upon them, and they shall belong to God. And they shall be prospered, and they shall be all blessed, and he will help them all, and light shall appear unto them, and he will make peace with them. This reminds me of several things biblically. That he is your God, and you are his people. And they all live under Shabbat, his rest, his peace, his help. And behold, he cometh with 10,000 of his holy ones to execute judgment upon all, and to destroy all the ungodly, and to convict all flesh of all the works of their ungodliness which they have ungodly committed, and of all the hard things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. That's the end of the world, folks. That's what he's talking about. That's coming out with a bang. First chapter of Enoch, right off the bat, talking about all of the worst parts of Revelation. If that's any indication as to what's to come, you better buckle your seatbelts. It's going to be rough. Chapter 2. Observe ye everything that takes place in the heaven, singular. How they do not change their orbits, and the luminaries which are in the heaven, singular. How they all rise and set in order, each in its season, and transgress not against their appointed order. Behold ye the earth, and give heed to the things which take place upon it from first to last, how steadfast they are, how none of the things upon the earth change, but all the works of God appear to you. Behold, the summer and the winter, how the whole earth is filled with water, and clouds and dew and rain lie upon it. Notice that he talks about the heaven, singular. And then he talks about the orbits of what's in the heaven. So we're talking about the stars, the planets, the luminaries. He uses the word luminary, which is unlike our word star. It's a different thing. I don't personally think that our sun is a star. That's my opinion, but I don't think it is, because I've looked at stars and they don't look anything like the sun. They're different. I think it's a luminary, and I think there are other ones out there. And I think there is a difference, a distinction. And notice that he's talking scientifically here about the order of things and how they do not change, how they're set in order. That is physics. That's the law of things. You put something in motion and it obeys. It stays in that motion. It never degrades off of that path. It never slows down or speeds up. Its orbit never changes. It never wavers from the order it was given originally. That is the opposite of chaos. That is the opposite of randomness. That is design, perfection, engineering, proof of the existence of God, if you ask me. He continues from the stars all the way down to planet Earth, where he talks about the water and the dew that comes up and waters the ground. All of this obviously is pre-flood, so you can imagine it was a different world to Enoch than it would be to us. But still very much works the same way, minus one detail. Before the flood, the waters came up from the earth and watered the ground and the trees. It didn't rain. And the whole earth is filled with water, but it's in the earth, not on top of it at this time. That's why he points out the dew and the rain lie upon it. Now, this word rain lie upon it, he's talking about the waters of the flood lying upon the earth. That's pretty specific, considering this is a pre-flood document. Chapter 3. Observe and see how in the water all the trees seem as though they had withered and shed all their leaves, except 14 trees, which do not lose their foliage, but retain the old foliage from 2 to 3 years till the new comes. This is also scientific and can be proven. Go do a little study into trees, botany, and see what 14 trees he's referring to. One of them most likely would be the cedar tree. or the acacia tree, or the shittim tree. The great fir tree, excuse me. And again, observe ye the days of summer, how the sun is above the earth over against it, meaning the solstice, the shortest day of the year, longest day of the year in the summer, shortest day of the year in the winter. And you take shade and shelter by reason of the heat of the sun, and the earth also burns with growing heat, and so you cannot tread on the earth or on a rock by reason of its heat. Global warming. Did it get hot enough to make the rocks so hot you couldn't stand on them in the old days? Why, yes, it did. Does today, too. You ever walked on a blacktop in the middle of a summertime in Georgia? It'll melt the skin right off the bottom of your feet. You can crack an egg and fry it right there on the sidewalk. I've done it, I know. Interesting that he is pointing these things out as the seasons of the earth. He's being awful scientific in these first few pages, talking about how things work and the order of things and how it is set that way in motion by God who created it that way. Very interesting. Chapter 5. Observe ye how the trees cover themselves with green leaves and bear fruit. Wherefore give ye heed, and know with regard to all his works, and recognize how he that liveth forever hath made them so. It is that way on purpose. There is no other thing that functions in the way that everything functions anywhere else in the universe except here. And all his works go on thus from year to year forever, and all the task which they accomplish for him, and their tasks change not. No evolution, not turning from one thing into another thing, not a gradual growth into anything. From year to year, from the beginning of time till the end of time, all things happen as they happen, and it always has, and it always will. Nothing changes. The seed bears the tree, which bears the seed, which bears the tree. It always will. Why? According as God hath ordained it to be done. That's why. And behold, how the sea and the rivers in like manner accomplish and change not their tasks from his commandments. But ye have not been steadfast, nor done the commandments of the Lord, but you have turned away and spoken proud and hard words with your impure mouths against his greatness. You are the only thing that does not follow its law according to the way God designed it. Everything on planet Earth works exactly the way God designed it to work, without fail, every time, except us. We're the only thing that don't. We're the only thing that rebels against God. Think about that for a minute. Where would that come from? O ye hard-hearted, ye shall find no peace. Therefore shall ye execrate your days. Hurry up and get to the end of them. And the years of your life shall perish, and the years of your destruction shall be multiplied in eternal execration, and ye shall find no mercy. In those days ye shall make your names an eternal execration unto all the righteous. They will all know who you are. They will all marvel at the punishment that you endure for the mistakes that you've made. They will all benefit from knowing you are no longer part of the framework, part of the system. And by you shall all who curse, and all the sinners and godless shall imprecate by you. And for you, the godless, there shall be a curse. And all the ... shall rejoice. I would say that is the host right there. All of the creation of God shall rejoice. I don't know that it's missing. and all the ... shall rejoice. And there shall be forgiveness of sins, and every mercy and peace and forbearance. There shall be salvation unto them, a goodly light. That's Christ. And for all of you sinners, there shall be no salvation, but on you all shall abide a curse. But for the elect, there shall be light and joy and peace, and they shall inherit the earth. And then there shall be bestowed upon the elect wisdom, which is female according to the book of Revelations. And they shall all live and never again sin. Amen. This is referring to what happens in the afterlife after the judgment day, after everyone has had their sins removed and their flesh removed, for that matter, and where you are now in your spiritual form living in eternal life in the new city of Jerusalem with God. There you will never experience sin again, either through ungodliness or through pride. Pride is one of the biggest sin manufacturers there is. It hurts all of us. But they who are wise shall be humble. Humble yourself before God. Lower yourself before God. You must decrease so that he can increase. And they shall not again transgress, nor shall they sin all the days of their life, nor shall they die of the divine anger or wrath. But they shall complete the number of the days of their life, and their lives shall be increased in peace, and the years of their joy shall be multiplied in eternal gladness and peace all the days of their life. Chapter 6. And it came to pass, when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said one to another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and begat us children. And 𝕊𝕬𝕬𝕪, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not. Indeed agreed to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. In other words, he's negotiating with the angels. I'm afraid that I'm going to go down there and bang a chick and get her pregnant, and you guys are going to stay here and laugh at me while I get in jail. I get put in jail for my sins. If we're going to do this, we got to do it together. Old 𝕊𝕬𝕬𝕪 is a trickster, for sure. I fear ye will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And they all answered him and said, Let us all swear an oath, and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations, or implications, not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. And they swear, they all together, and bound themselves in an oath to each other, to do this thing, which is to go against God and pervert his creation for their own satisfaction, for their own lusts. Do you see? That's what's wrong with the world. That's why when God led the children of Israel out of the desert and into Canaan, he told Joshua to go in and kill every living thing, man, woman, child, and animal. Take nothing of theirs. The whole place is perverted. It's evil. Those beings do not belong on planet Earth. They are not human beings. That's what that was about. That's why he told them to do that. It's not genocide. It's not anything that Earth understands. It's a godly problem that he had to solve. That's the reason for the flood. That's the reason for all of the war and all of the calamity from the Garden of Eden forward, is because of the implications of what the angels did at Mount Hermon. So they bound themselves by an oath not to abandon this plan and do this thing. By mutual imprecations or implications upon it, and they were in all 200. That's 200 of God's angels who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And these are the names of their leaders. 𝕊𝕚𝕬𝕬𝕪, their leader. 𝕊𝕬𝕬𝕪, I don't know how you say that. 𝕊𝕬𝕬𝕪, Ramiel, Kokab-lel, Tamiel, Ramlil, Danel, Ezekiel, and Berekah. Aziel, Armoros, Batarel, Ananel, Zachlil, Samsapil. This Sam seems to be an important name. There's like 4 angels with that beginning of that name. Sataril, Turil, Jomjael, and Sariel. And these are their chief of tens, meaning there's at least 10 angels under these names. These guys are leaders of 10 angels or more. Little groups, little squadrons, if you will. That'll give you some idea as to how they're structured. They order by rank, so they're kind of like an army. They got structure to their hierarchies. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go in unto them and to defile themselves with them, and they taught them charms and enchantments and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants, and they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed. Remember what God said? They have become with voracious appetites. Everything they did was to the max. They could not be filled up. Max violence, max hunger, max lust, max greed. Everything a max. Pardon me. I don't know why my nose starts itching so bad when I'm talking. So again, they consumed everything. If they'd have stayed alive, they would have started eating themselves. Go back a little bit. So the angels beguiled the women by teaching them things like charms and incantations. Do you know what that is? That's witchcraft. A charm is an expression that you can say that will cause a person to do a thing. Right? When I say, hit that like button, subscribe, share, support, join, and super chat, and then you do that, you have effectively been affected by my charm. That's what the angels taught men to do. They didn't know that before. They didn't know how to do that before. What is an incantation? It's a spell. It's a series of words that you can say that will cause something to occur, like a spell. Cutting of roots, that's medicine, modern medicine. It's alchemy. It's basically putting things together to make other things. They didn't do that before either. Remember, in the early days, men were vegetarians. They eat roots and nuts and vegetables. That's it. Seeds. Made them acquainted with plants, so they taught them how to farm. Remember, I told you one time, the minute that man put a line on the ground and said, this is mine, that started battle, because there's another man that wants that. Anytime you cause property to start happening, then you start causing disputes over that property to start happening. Before that, you just ate what you needed and lived where you needed to live, and moved where you needed to go and used the earth for what it provided you. Now people are claiming ownership. They're learning how to do plants. They're learning how to structure gardens and have harvest and make money, make a profit. This is a big problem. You think if you follow this thought to its logical conclusion, that's where war came from. That's where property came from. That's where disputes came from. That's where all of the greed of capitalism came from, is the beginnings of these days when the angels came and taught men how to do things through their women. That's We could spend a whole week talking about that for that line. Probably longer than that. But they became pregnant and bore giants. Their children, their offspring, were big boys. Remember when the 2 spies went into Canaan and they came back and reported what they saw? What did they see? We were like grasshoppers in their sight. They were giants. They would eat us immediately, right? That's what they saw. That's where the stories of Jack and the giant killer come from. Or the beanstalk. Interesting that it's about a seed in a tree, right? That's what the angels taught. And as a result, they got giants. You see how that goes? How that tracks? Continuing on. All the acquisitions of men, buying and selling, trading, they taught us that. We didn't do that before. All the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. When we couldn't keep feeding them, when there was not enough to keep shoveling in their mouth, they wanted more and more and more and more until they turned against us and started devouring us. Giants eat people. That's where that legend comes from. Look at the legends of the Hopi Indians where they talk about giants running alongside of them and picking up antelope or elk or buffalo and just taking a bite out of them. The reason that they go, how, is to make sure that the guy coming up to them has 5 fingers, because giants have 6 fingers, or some do. That's where that legend comes from. How? That's why they do that. Read up on it, you'll see. They turned against them and devoured mankind, and they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. That's the flood. Now, back up a little bit. What exactly does it mean to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish? Is that bestiality? Well, it could be. Is that some other crossing of DNA or something like that? You ever see the pictures on the walls of Egypt where they have got a man with a bird's head or a crocodile with a lion's butt? Something like that? I think those things are trying to tell us something. I think they exist for a reason. I don't think they're fiction. I don't think that they're just making stuff up for the sake of making stuff up. People wrote to record. That's the reason for writing. They didn't start doing drama until the Greeks invented it in the Greek era. But then it goes on. They began to devour one another's flesh. They resorted to cannibalism and to drink their blood. What does that mean? Is that where the legends of vampires come from? Vampires and werewolves and the like? You see how everything that's a legend today is rooted in something in reality from the past. That's why it sticks around. That's why it lasts as a legend, because it's based on reality. It's based on truth. The Greek mythology is based on these beings. That's who they were. All these giant titans and demigods and things like that. Hercules, all of these people. They were these people. That's where it comes from. Hope you know that. And the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones, the ones that could not be controlled by God's law, and devoured them. The only way that you could get rid of them is to destroy them utterly. So God flooded the world. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments, and to use of autonomy, or antimony, whatever that means. Antimony. Look up that word, antimony. And the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, putting on makeup, and all kinds of costly stones, diamonds and such, and all coloring tinctures. These are like medicines and perfumes and little like fresh breath spray, things like that. Coloring tinctures. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray. This word is the same as what happened to Eve. They were seduced and led to sin, and became corrupt in all their ways. Okay. That's a lot that we just read there. So, not only did the angels teach us how to fight. Oh, and antimony is a periodic table thing. It has an atomic weight of 51. It's a brittle, silvery white metalloid used primarily to harden lead in batteries. As a flame retardant and as a semiconductor. Wow. Ancients used it in cosmetics. It is known for metallic luster and poor conductivity, found naturally in ores like stibnite. All right, so that makes sense. All right, so they taught them metallurgy. They taught them how to draw ore out of the ground and turn it into metal. They taught them to look for it, to find it in the ground, because they didn't know it was there until they found it. They taught them about the value of stones and gold and things like that. They taught them about tinctures and how to make things out of stuff in the environment. Do you see what's happening here? This is a perversion of civilization. This is bread and circuses. This is teaching them how to reformulate civilization. Imagine what we're going through right now with the transgender thing and the gay thing. How 10 years ago it wasn't even talked about, and then slowly but surely became a thing over time. What they've done is they have reordered our civilization. They have changed the way we associate with one another. They have added value to things that were never valuable before to us, and they've taken value away from things that were valuable to us, such as the freedom of speech, right? That's what the angels did too. They taught them a new way to live, to value things like makeup. We never did that before. We didn't have any reason to. They taught them a reason to. Beauty, false beauty, right? You can get a lot with false beauty. You can trick people with false beauty. If you wear bracelets and ornaments, you can pretend to be something way more valuable than you actually are. Trick people into giving you resources and things like that. They taught them the value of stones like diamonds and tinctures, and all godlessness came from these behaviors. This is a worthy study right here. And what does all that amount to? Well, what did they start doing? They began to commit fornication. What is that? That is sex with a lascivious intent, right? That is perverting God's natural way of loving one another and making it a thing, like a one-night stand or polygamy or something like that. It's not just sex. It's sex outside of commitment. It's sex outside of the right way of having sex for the right reasons, right? Can I get another cup of coffee, please? So all of these things that were listed are things that not only form our civilization, things that we all do or are a part of our lives. Number one, they're not necessary. We didn't do that beforehand. And number two, they all lead us to fornication, because that's what led them to fornication, which is ungodly. When I tell you that they've laid the groundwork and indoctrinated you from birth, like from the moment you're born, you see dinosaurs in outer space on everything. And in every book you read, all the way through school, it begins with billions of years, millions of years. So you're indoctrinated to the point that you never question it. By the time you're old enough to question it, it is so ingrained in you, you just think it's the truth. Therefore, anybody like me that tells you otherwise is crazy. Watch my series, Hyperbole, episode 5 or 6, where I talk about this very thing, the periodic table that we're talking about earlier, and how all of that applies, and the stories that people have told us about the things that we use, about fossil fuels and things like that. Well, that's not true. It's not true. None of these things are true. Evolution is not true. Here's your proof right here. So what did all these things amount to? They amounted to leading them astray and making them corrupt in all of their ways. That's the end result here. So these angels, 200 angels, made a pact with themselves to carry out this corruption of God's creation. God created men to do a specific thing, and they wanted to ruin it. So they came down and ruined it. That's why they are bad. They're fallen angels for that reason. Continuing on. 𝕊𝕬𝕬𝕪 taught enchantments and root cutting. 𝕊𝕬𝕬𝕪, the resolving of enchantments. 𝕊𝕬𝕬𝕪, or 𝕊𝕬𝕬𝕪, however you say that, taught astrology. 𝕊𝕬𝕬𝕪, the constellations. Ezekiel, the knowledge of the clouds. That would be what we call, what's the word? What the weatherman does, what's that called? Meteorology, that's it. Araquil, the signs of the earth. Shamsiel, the signs of the sun. Solar maximus, solar minimus. Eclipses and things like that. And Sariel, the course of the moon, months and seasons and tides. And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. Now, those are the bad angels. What about the good ones? Chapter 9. And then Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven and saw much blood being shed upon the earth, and all lawlessness being wrought upon the earth. And they said one to another, the earth made without inhabitant cries the voice of their cryingest up to the gates of heaven. So they're crying so loud that heaven is hearing them. Earth made without inhabitant. So there was a time when there was nobody there, and now they are. Now they're crying so loud that it reaches heaven. In a relatively short amount of time, Enoch is 7th from Adam. He's only 7 generations from Adam. So a relatively short period of time, and all the world is crying to God because of their own destruction, of their own sins. And now to you, the holy ones of heaven, the souls of men make their suit, saying, bring our cause before the Most High. And they said to the Lord of ages, Lord of lords, God of gods, King of kings, and God of the ages, the throne of thy glory standeth unto all the generations of the ages. and thy name holy and glorious, and blessed unto all the ages. Thou hast made all things, and power over all things that hast thou. And all things are naked and open in thy sight. And thou seest all things, and nothing can hide itself from thee. Thou seest what Azazel hath done, who hath taught all unrighteousness on earth, and revealed the eternal secrets which were preserved in heaven, which men were striving to learn, like how to make fire. And Samjaza, to whom thou hast given authority to bear rule over his associates. And they have gone to the daughters of men upon the earth, and have slept with the women, and have defiled themselves, and revealed to them all kinds of sins. And the women have borne giants, and the whole earth has thereby been filled with blood and unrighteousness. And now, behold, the souls of those who have died are crying and making their suit to the gates of heaven, making a claim, a lawsuit, if you want to look at it that way. And their lamentations have ascended and cannot cease because of the lawless deeds which are wrought on the earth. And thou knowest all things before they come to pass, and thou seest these things, and thou dost suffer them. And thou dost not say to us what we are to do to them in regard to these things. What are we supposed to do, God? You see it happening, but you haven't told us how to act. I'd say that'd be annoying. Oh, now God speaks. Then said the Most High, the Holy and Great One spake, and sent Uriel to the son of Lamech, and said to him, Go to Noah and tell him, In my name hide thyself, and reveal to him the end that is approaching, that the whole earth will be destroyed, and a deluge, or a flood, is about to come upon the whole earth, and will destroy all that is on it. And now instruct him that he may escape, and his seed may be preserved for all generations of the world. And again the Lord said to Raphael, Bind Azazel, hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness, or the abyss, and make an opening in the desert, which is in Dudale. I don't know where that is. I would imagine Iraq, Iran, somewhere in that area. And cast him therein. I would imagine if you found Dudale, it would probably be where the Euphrates River runs, somewhere in that area. Because the Bible talks about angels being held in prison under the Euphrates River. And I'm guessing that's Azazel. And place upon him rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness, and let him abide there forever, and cover his face, that he may not see light. And on that day of the great judgment he shall be cast into the fire, the lake of fire where Satan will be cast. And heal the earth, which the angels have corrupted, and proclaim the healing of the earth, that they may heal the plague, and that all the children of men may not perish through all the secret things that the watchers have disclosed and have taught their sons, and the whole earth has been corrupted. So the things that the angels, or the watchers, taught mankind are the things that we suffer from today. The wars and the famines and the sicknesses and the evil things that we do to each other, and the plagues and the diseases that run rampant. All of these things started back then. The dating game. You ever try to go dating? The things that we do, the things that women do, that women grow up thinking, the things that men do to women, and the things they grow up thinking. Imagine. That's incorrect, Amanda. It is a real world place. It just isn't anymore. The book of Enoch is a real book from the time that it occurred. It's not mythical, it is fact. So don't get that confused. I know that's what the thing says, but that is not correct. Everything in the Bible can be verified. I'm assuming everything in this book can be too, since it used to be in the Bible. However, that does remain to be seen. But as I'm saying, everything that we suffer from as a civilization today is a result of the things the angels taught us back then. It corrupted the earth. It caused everything that is wrong with the earth. So when you ask yourself, why does God let these things happen? Here's the answer. God doesn't let these things happen. They happened. God didn't allow it to happen. It happened under his watch. Now remember, this is a thing I've never heard taught in a church, so you're going to have to go with me on this one. I don't know that anybody knows this outright that are teaching things that are biblical, but it is biblical, and you can look for yourself and find it for yourself. Just read Genesis. We're going to do it in a few weeks anyway. In the beginning, God did not run the earth. He doled out that to a divine council. He did not even do all of the creating. Read the Bible. There's a very distinct difference between God, Lord God, and Yahweh, Elohim. You know, all of these things that describe what we all call God, and which is all translated to God. If you go look in the original language, it is not all God. And the answer to that is in Psalms 88 and in other places, the divine council. God had angels set up over provinces, and they were the God of that area, for lack of a better word. Not God, but they ruled that area. And for some reason, they overstepped their bounds. They got out of hand, and God judged them. He put them in jail. He punished them. And then he came and met Abraham. And from the meeting of Abraham, that's when God became our God. That's the formation of the religion that we now partake in. Before that, it was different. He was still God, obviously, but it was different. They worshiped a different thing. They looked at the world a different way. There was a different ideology at play. It wasn't until Abraham that the belief that we share today was born. That's the beginning of Christianity as I see it. Continuing on. The whole earth was corrupted through the works that were taught by Azazel. To him ascribe all sin. All sin is because of what Azazel taught men. And to Gabriel said the Lord, proceed against the bastards and the reprobates, and against the children of fornication, and destroy the children of fornication and the children of the watchers from among men, and cause them to go forth. Send them one against the other, that they may destroy each other in battle. For the length of days shall they not have. They won't live forever, is what he's saying. And no request that they or their fathers make of thee shall be granted unto their fathers on their behalf. For they hope to live an eternal life, and that each one of them will live 500 years. So these angels do not get eternity, but they get 500 years. That's something, not eternity. I'll read that again in case that was confusing. Make of thee. Let me go back to the beginning of that. No request that they, i.e. their fathers, make of thee shall be granted unto their fathers on their behalves. So no prayers. Let them kill each other and do not answer their prayers. For they hope to live an eternal life, and that each one of them will live 500 years. So they want eternity and a long life on earth. That's what that means. I said it backwards to start with. Not only do they want to live for 500 years, like at that time man lived to be 900 years old, somewhere in that area. But not only do they want that long life, but they also want to live for eternity in heaven. That's not going to happen. And the Lord said unto Michael, Go, bind 𝕊𝕬𝕓𝕝𝕪 and his associates, who have united themselves with women so as to have defiled themselves with them in all their uncleanness. They had sex with them. And when their sons have slain one another, and they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones, bind them fast for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth, till the day of their judgment and of their consummation, till the judgment that is forever and ever is consummated. That's the white throne judgment. 70 generations. Does that sound a lot like the 70 weeks of Daniel? I think it is. I think it's the same thing, that period of time. That is up right now. The 70 weeks of Daniel is over, and the generation of the fig tree has begun. That's where we are right now in the timeline. So this matches with that, give or take a few generations. But 70 generations, that's what we're looking at with the 70 weeks of Daniel. That ended in 1948. So the valleys of the earth, that would be where the rivers run, right? The river Euphrates, that's where one of the angels is placed. And what is the judgment? The judgment is coming after the generation of the fig tree. That's when the judgment of forever and ever is consummated. That's when the lake of fire opens up. That's when the devil and everybody is tossed in. So that's what that's talking about. In those days, they shall be led off to the abyss of fire. That's the lake of fire. And to the torment and the prison, which they shall be confined forever. And whosoever shall be condemned and destroyed will from thenceforth be bound together with them to the end of all generations, and destroy all the spirits of the reprobate and the children of the watchers, because they have wronged mankind. That's the reason right there. Why destroy all of the children of the fallen? Because they wronged mankind. Because everything that we suffer from today is a product of what they brought to the earth. That is not what God created this place to be. That's the reason for everything you see. Destroy all wrong from the face of the earth, and let every evil work come to an end, and let the plant of righteousness and truth appear, and it shall prove a blessing. The works of righteousness and truth shall be planted in truth and joy forevermore. And then shall all the righteous escape, and shall live till they begat thousands of children, and all the days of their youth and their old age shall they complete in peace. I hope we get to do that. And then shall the whole earth be tilled in righteousness, and shall all be planted with trees and be full of blessings. And all desirable trees shall be planted on it, and they shall plant vines on it. And the vine which they plant thereon shall yield wine in abundance. And as for all the seed which is sown thereon, each measure of it shall bear 1,000, and each measure of olives shall yield 10 presses of oil. By the way, in case you haven't noticed, we're talking about bloodlines and families here. That's what this is all allegories of. The trees and the vines and the olives and the wine. That's the fruit of the vine. You're the vine. Got it? These are the different tribes of people, the different types of people that live in the world. And each branch has its own lineage and its own fruit to bear. And to each his own. 10 presses of oil. And cleanse thou the earth from all oppression, and from all unrighteousness, and from all sin, and from all godlessness, and all the uncleanness that is wrought upon the earth. Destroy from off of the earth, and all the children of men shall become righteous, and all nations shall offer adoration, and shall praise me, and shall all worship me. And the earth shall be cleansed from all defilement, and from all sin, and from all punishment, and from all torment, and I will never again send them upon it, from generation to generation forever. Well, that was the plan. Look what mankind did in response. Did they follow God's law? No, they did not. All of this is the reason the Bible starts with an if and then starts with a then, right? If, then. If you do this, then I will do this. We didn't do this, so he didn't do that. If mankind did what they're supposed to do, the Middle East would be green and fertile right now. It's a dead wasteland. That's proof that they didn't follow God's law, because he said that would be the land of flowing milk and honey if they did what they were supposed to do. They didn't. Egypt used to be green. The Sahara Desert was not a desert. That's a punishment from God. That's why it's so unnatural, doesn't fit the rest of the world. Anyway, chapter 11. And in those days I will open the store chambers of blessing which are in the heaven, singular, so as to send two. Hang on. That 2 is one of the numbers, and it's not bold. Let me reread that. And in those days I will open the store chambers of blessing, which are in the heaven, singular, so as to send them down upon the earth over the work and labor of the children of men, and the truth and peace shall be associated together throughout all the days of the world, and throughout all the generations of men. Chapter 12. Before these things Enoch was hidden, and no one of the children of men knew where he was hidden, and where he abode. That means that they couldn't find him. And what had become of him, and his activities had to do with the watchers, and his days were with the holy ones. So he wasn't on earth. They lost him. Enoch was a popular guy, right? He was the grandfather of a few people. He had children, and he was the child of people. And then he just vanished. Where'd he go? Nobody knew. He was with the holy ones. That's why. And I, Enoch, was blessing the Lord of majesty and the King of the ages, and lo, the watchers called me, Enoch the scribe, and said to me, Enoch, thou scribe of righteousness, go, declare to the watchers of the heaven, singular, who have left the high heaven, the holy eternal place, and have defiled themselves with women, and have done as the children of earth do, and have taken unto themselves wives. Ye have wrought great destruction on the earth, and ye shall have no peace nor forgiveness of sin. And inasmuch as they delight themselves in their children, the murder of their beloved ones shall they see, and over the destruction of their children shall they lament, and shall make supplication unto eternity. But mercy and peace shall ye not attain. They don't get forgiven for destroying God's plan. That's how serious he takes it. He does not like this whole business. And that's where we're going to stop. That's a mouthful right there. I want you to think about what we read tonight. We will pick up tomorrow night right here. Chapter 13, verse 1. Man, what an intense, interesting book that was. I hope that it makes you think. I hope that it causes you to get back into the Word of God and delve even deeper to try to figure out what it is he's trying to tell you. And ultimately, I hope it causes you to reach out with both hands to Almighty God and ask him into your life. Bring me to you, Father. Show me the way to go, Father. Tell me what I'm missing here. Give me the wisdom that I need to survive the way you want me to. Forgive me of my sins and trespasses and teach me the truth. Amen. If you'll do that, I promise you it'll change your life. I promise you it will. I'm going to try something here. Hang on a second. Didn't do anything. Okay. I thought an ad would pop up if I hit that button. It didn't. Okay. Think about what we read tonight. Consider it. Mull it over. And while you're thinking about it, how about do me a favor? Hit that subscribe button and press the bell icon so you get notifications when I'm going to be online. Smash that like button. It's free. It's effortless. It's right in front of you, and it really does help the channel with the algorithms. Helps us to get recommended to other people. Won't you do that, please? Share this video with somebody you love. Better yet, share it with somebody you don't love. Bring them into the family. Make them part of the fold. Be part of their solutions, not part of their problems. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking about. Question me, curse me, bless me, challenge me, confront me, conform with me. Drink my Kool-Aid. Make your own Kool-Aid. As long as you're thinking critical, that's what I'm after. Critical thought coming from that brain of yours. And hey, if you love the Word of God and you can see the value in what I'm trying to build here and you'd like to help me build it, consider joining the channel. Get yourself a J-tag. Put a super chat in the chat box. Buy a t-shirt. But if you feel led to send your tithes, offerings, or love offerings to this humble ministry, you can do that. Go into paypal.me/jakejohnsonband. Or if you're a Cash App user, $ Jake Johnson Band. Every little bit helps. It is a win-win. It is a blessing to me. But it's a blessing to you too. Why? Because our Father notices when you take care of his. Now, I will do everything in my power to be worthy of that support. I will answer all of your questions and comments. And I will introduce you to ways of thinking that you never thought you would. As I always do. Right now. Okay. Coffee time. So far, what do you think? What's on your mind? What jumped out at you? What made you think? What surprised you? What wasn't surprising at all? Tell me. Discuss. Amy says, how does God's plan factor into free will? If free will takes over, are God's plans changing to adjust for the horrible actions caused by free will? If that makes sense. It does, but who's to say what free will causes is horrible? Can't you choose to do good? So it's man that makes it horrible, not free will. You can choose to not do horrible things. You can choose to support a ministry and keep your nose clean and work hard for the Lord and keep your head in his direction. You can choose to do that. Or you can choose to screw up and go gambling and, blow your rent money or whatever. God gives you the choice, but it's you that makes it. And yes, God's plan changes, as you just saw. He laid out a plan, and it didn't go that way. In the Bible, in Genesis, and in several other places, he lays out a plan. And it rarely goes the way he lays it out because man will not do their part. He does his part, and then they don't do that. They fail at their part every time. So, yeah, God has to keep changing the plan. Remember when Abraham and Isaac were told to go into the mountain and Abraham was told to give his son as a sacrifice to God? And then God says, wait a minute, I myself will provide a lamb. Or rephrase that. I will provide a lamb myself. Rephrase that. I myself am the lamb that I provide. See? Even back in Abraham's time, he had to rechange the plan and give an ultimate solution, Christ. Because we would not follow suit. We would not do what we were supposed to do. And why? Because we were utterly corrupted back in the early days. even back to the Garden of Eden when Satan was there. But further ahead, when the angels came down to Mount Hermon and taught us all manner of things that we had no business knowing about, they hurried up our progress by a lot. That's like in Star Trek, you got the first order of business, General Order 1. No contact with pre-warp civilizations. Why? Because they haven't progressed to a point where they can accept what you are. With your warp drive and your fancy clothes and your ray guns. They're still living in huts. They're not ready for that. So you don't advance on civilizations that aren't ready. That's what the angels did. They advanced on a civilization that wasn't ready and corrupted it and destroyed it, basically. They knew they were doing that too. They made a pact to follow through with it because they were scared that if one of them did it, they would be the only one getting punished for it. Think about it. Now, Judy says, God bless you. He does. Did anybody sneeze? Madison says, in my opinion, Amy, God gave you free will. If he planned to waste his time accounting for everyone's bad use of free will, he wouldn't have given it to us in the first place. I got it. Well, he kind of would have, because what he wants from us is our love. And love is not a thing you can make. That's a unique qualifier of this universe. It's a unique thing that exists, love. It's the only thing of its kind. There's nothing else like love. It cannot be made or manufactured. It cannot be ordered or insisted upon. It has to be genuine. It has to be the real thing, or it's not love. That's what God wanted. The only way he could do that is if you chose to give it to him willingly. The only way you can do that is if you have the choice not to. And that goes all the way down to the nth degree. Every choice you could possibly make, you have to have the choice, or else it's not real. That's the difference between real intelligence and a computer. A computer cannot make that kind of choice. And there you go. Madison says the devil's favorite argument is God gave you free will. Yeah. Sorry, my chat jumped. I'll get back to it. Thank you. The devil's favorite argument, says Madison, God gave you free will, didn't he? But it's still up to you to make that choice. Yes. Amy says, good point, Madison, but what about the mass shooter victims? It was someone else's free will that affects their mortality. Yes. I don't understand your point. The victims did not make that choice. They are victims, meaning it happened to them, not because of them. They're innocent in that. The shooter, not so much. If you're saying it sucks to be a victim, why does God let that happen? It's because he's hands off. He gave you free will. We're the ones that nurture these civilizations. We're the ones that make the decisions that we make, vote the way we vote. It's a big question. It's not a simple yes or no answer. There's a lot of moving parts involved. But ultimately, we made the choices we made that caused the world we live in. And everything is a result of that. Sometimes bad things happen and people get caught in the crossfire. But God is on the other side of life. He knows what happens after life. We don't, was why death is the end to us. That's why we see it that way. Because we're not outside of it. We can't see the other side. He can. And it apparently doesn't bother him that much to let people die, because he knows what's going to happen afterwards. Lady B says, Amy, your wrench was there and went away and then came back. Unless it was God's plan. Well, it's not God's plan. It is not God's plan for bad things to happen. It's God's plan for you to love him. That doesn't mean you're going to follow his plan, but that's the plan. Madison says, you could say the same of war or something as simple as starvation. A soldier dies because a president's free will decides to invade a country. A homeless man dies because someone didn't use free will. Correct. Sometimes people get caught in the crossfire. Simple as that. Welcome to the J-Tag team, Lady B. Congratulations, you got yourself a J-Tag. Use it with pride. The good pride, not the bad pride. Amy says, I'm thinking too hard about things, I guess. No. That's what you should be doing, thinking about things, because that's the only way you come to an understanding of those things. It's not good enough just to recognize that it happens. Understanding it is the goal. Madison says, will to feed him. Right on. Someone didn't use their free will to feed the homeless man. Correct. Or himself. He could have fed himself. Unfortunately, homelessness is not an issue of not having money. It's an issue of not wanting to be in a home. You can't fix homelessness because those people do not want to be in civilization. They chose the life they live. Believe that. If there is a person out there that is genuinely homeless because of a loss of a job or, society's hard on them or whatever, I assure you they will not be homeless for long. They are working on a way to get out of it themselves. They don't need any help. They'll get there on their own. And if you can't help them, do. But I assure you, they're not living out on the streets. They're on their way to a home. The people that live out on the streets want to be there. That's the reason you can't solve homelessness. It's a mental issue, not a money issue. Debbie says, Amy, our world lacks accountability and evil prevails when good men do nothing. True. Madison says, I think free will has more to do with where you end up on Judgment Day, and our free will doesn't affect God's overall plan. But again, that's more opinion-based. Well, no, our opinion does not, our free will does not affect God's plan other than he wants us to love him, and if we don't, that is not his plan. Ultimately, those who choose to revolt against God are going into the lake of fire to be destroyed. They won't be a problem past Judgment Day. So they will not affect God's overall plan, what goes on beyond Judgment Day. No. I don't think that's us, though. I think that we're not in that group. Amy says, I don't even begin to know what God's plan is. It's the other philosophy. It's the other philosophical discussion, free will versus predestination. Right on. Well, there's both. It's the oldest philosophical discussion. Yep. Rachel's here. She says, hello. Hi, Rachel. How are you? Nice to see you. Amy says, hi, Rachel. And Amy says, it's good to see you here, Rachel. Yes, it is. Judy says, hey, Rachel. Amanda says, hi, Rachel. And Rachel says, you need Jesus. That's right. We all need Jesus. Amy says, Jesus loves us all. He does, and he deserves our love back. Debbie says, I think God gave us free will to love him, worship him, and obey the commandments. Not free will to do whatever we want, when we want. That is man's twist on free will. Exactly. Do what thou wilt. That is Satanism. That's what Satan told Eve in the Garden of Eden. Do whatever you want to do. You'll be like God. You'll be like the Most High. You'll know what God knows. You don't have to live by these rules. Do what you want. That is the ultimate twist on God's plan. He created us to love him. That's the reason you're here. The only reason you're here. There is no bigger meaning to life than that. Love God. Whatever that means to you. Imprecations, a spoken curse. Thank you, Madison. Amy says, Bueller. When Jake was reading off the difficult names of the fallen angels. Bueller. I know, right? It's very difficult, those names. Amanda says, LOL, Amy. And Madison says, note. 10s? 10S? I don't know for sure that there is any correlation, but I often think about Revelation, how the beast had 10 horns, and on each horn were 10 crowns. Well, those are political systems, the 10 horns. They're the 10 kings of the earth. You can look for the greatest leaders of the earth, and there are 10 of them. And the crowns are their leadership, or the presidents, or the rulers of those areas. That's what that is on the beast. It's a metaphor. But you should be thinking about that, because that is the very thing that's going to get us into the situation that Revelations unfolds. Amy says, like when mobs chant the same phrase over and over, it's an incantation. Yes. And those have power. If you don't believe me, I'll teach you one. And you can do this for yourself, and you can watch it work. Think of something that you want but do not have, or any way of having. And take a piece of paper and a pencil, and then write down that thing, whatever it is. And then make a column, left side and right side. And on the left side, write all of the things that you have that could get you into the thing that you want. All of the things, whether it's money or transportation or a means to, or the knowledge of where it is, or whatever it is that you're looking for. Write down all the things that you currently possess that can get you to the thing you want. And then on the right-hand side, write down all the things that you cannot, that you do not have, that you need to get what you want. And then underscore that, and then underneath it, keep a journal. Make steps towards it. Acquire one thing on that list. Bring one thing on that side over to this side every week. Check the list and follow it. Check the list and follow it. Write down the steps that you need to take to get the next thing, and then take those steps. What you have done is you have created a physical record of an event that does not exist. And then you made it happen by following that list. When you write something down, it gives it power. It takes up residence in your mind. It creates the universe into a position that will allow you to go forward and make that thing happen. That is a spell. It works every time, 100%. Try it if you think I'm wrong. That's a spell. When you write something down, you give it power. Power to remember it, power to think about it, to focus on it, to mull it over, to see the angles of how to get it, power to array your mind in a position that will put you in a place where you can go get it. It motivates you. It keeps track of what you've done or what you haven't done. So it penalizes you. It motivates you. It causes you to go forward. And before you know it, you have the thing that's at the top of the list. That's a spell that you caused to happen by writing it down. That's what an incantation is. Words have power. When you say something a certain way, like hit the like button, share, subscribe, support, join, a super chat. That's a reminder. If you say it often enough, it becomes ingrained. And then before you know it, you are anticipating me saying it, which means you're saying it. I've infected your mind with my spell. That will more often than not remind you to super chat. Right? That's what that is. It's a spell. It's called wizardry, and the whole world is practicing it every day. That's what ads are. That's what slogans are. A slogan is a spell. Nike, just do it. Right? It puts it in your mind. It's catchy. It's something you don't forget. Now you know of a thing that you did not know about before. It's stuck in your head. 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese. See what I'm saying? These are spells. People respond to programming. If you program them, they will act accordingly. It's that simple, and the whole world is doing it to you every day of the week. A false dichotomy is another way. Give you a choice, a false choice. Pepsi or Coke. How about neither? That's a third choice. Right? But you don't think that. You think Pepsi or Coke. You're introduced with an idea and you're given false options. The person that gave you that idea is the one in control. And now you know. What you can do with knowing is beyond me, but you know. Amy says it's an incantation or an invocation. Either way. Like the Sphinx. I don't know if it's like the Sphinx or not. What are you talking about? April Rain says, hey, everybody. I'm driving, but I'm listening. I just dropped CJ off, so I'm driving and listening. Much love to you all. Much love to you too, April. How are you, sweetie? Amy says, hey, April, eyes on the road. April says, yes, ma'am. Whoa. Amanda says, the thing about antimony, which is a periodic table element I didn't know about. But if you go watch my presentation on the periodic table, I'll explain to you why brittle matters. It gives a description, brittle and shiny and silvery and white and metallic, metalloid. There's a reason it's on a specific place in the periodic table, and I'll explain that to you in the movie or the show Hyperbole. Go watch it now that you're a member. Amanda says, hi, April. Madison says, some translations say this is the material they used to build the temple. Oh, no. No. They used granite to build the temple. Judy says, hey, April. Amanda says, antimony is mentioned in the book of Enoch as a substance that the fallen angel Azazel taught humans to use for the beautifying of the eyelids, along with the other knowledge of metallurgy and weapons. Yes. And cosmetics. You ever wonder why you put makeup on? Now you know. It's a sales tactic. That's all it really is. Thank you, April, for renewing your subscription. Keep that badge. Looks good on your name. Says, woohoo, April. Lady B says, good to see you, April. Drive safe tonight and stay warm. Prayers. April says, text talking in my phone, so it's good to see you too, lady. Much love and hugs, everyone. Lady B says, April, prayers, hearts, and moons. Amber says, eyes, prayers, and hearts. Amanda says, Duty L isn't a real-world geographic location, but mythical. It is not mythical. It is a real-world place. It just doesn't exist anymore. It used to exist, though. My guess is it's Iraq or Iran, somewhere in that area. Somewhere near the Euphrates River. Desolate desert realm of the book of Enoch, where fallen angels, particularly Azazel, are imprisoned, often described as a chasm or an abyss, or the abyss, the bottomless pit. East of Jerusalem, a harsh, fiery place symbolizing divine judgment and a gateway to the underworld realms. It's portrayed as a barren wasteland with deep rifts, fiery skies, and punishing heat, akin to Tartarus or Gehenna, serving as a prison for the corrupt watchers. Well, first of all, Tartarus was a real place also, and Gehenna is a real place in Jerusalem to this day. So if it's akin to those places, how is it mythical there? And if you've ever been in a desert, that's what that describes, a desert. Also, the underworld is a real place on planet Earth, physical. It's called Abraham's bosom. It's empty right now, but it used to be very much in demand. And other religions call it other things. The Jews call it Sheol. The Vikings call it Valhalla. The Klingons call it Stovakor. Same thing. The Egyptians called it the underworld. The Greeks call it Hades. Dudiel is a place of imprisonment for Azazel, cohort of Samyaza. It's described in the book of Enoch. You got it. We understand. Thank you. You got to let me get it all in there. I'm just posting what it says. I know. I'm just correcting what it says because it's wrong. But it did answer the question of where that place was or what that place was. Amy says, that answered my question above, right? My question about free will. Excellent. Amy says, when Abraham set the split animals, sacrifices, and God walked in the middle, it created a bond with mankind. It's called the Hebrew blood covenant. It's where the expression, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for the Lord is my shepherd, so forth and so on. That's where that comes from. It's accompanied by a tattoo in the right hand where you cut the right hand and pack it with ashes so that you never forget the promise that you just made, because it's very important to God, the Hebrew blood covenant. Bill Bennett says, I got to sleep a long day. Love you all. Thank you, Jake. Keep up the good work. Bill, God bless you, my friend. Thank you for being here. Amy says, good night, Bill. Amanda says, night, Bill. Maybe it's Maybelline. Says, ciao, everybody. Jake and Amanda, how are you? Sorry we're late tonight. Very crazy day. That's all right. We're doing a new thing tonight anyway. Aaron says, good read. Aaron, what's up, brother? Nice to see you both. Mabel and Hannah, nice to see you too. Amy says, hi, Mabel. Amy says, Aaron Hart. Amanda says, hi, Mabel and Hannah. And hello, Aaron. Aaron says, hi, I've been listening. Good. Did you hear anything you liked? Or freaked you out? Madison says, Mabel, Hart, ciao, Bella. Judy says, bye, Bill. And hey, Mabel and Hannah. Amanda says, great read. What a book. Thanks, Jake. My pleasure. Thank you. Judy says, hey, Aaron. April says, great read, Jake. I'll go back and rewatch the beginning. Awesome job tonight, and much love, and God bless. Thank you. I appreciate that. Aaron says, hi. April says, hi, Mabel, Hannah, and Aaron. Good to see y'all. I'm driving. I'm text talking. Hugs and love. Amen. Prayers. Kevin says, hang on. Chat jumped. Kevin says, was Enoch returned to earth after being taken to heaven? No, sir. Nope, he's there still. That's why I think he's going to be one of the two witnesses. Enoch and Elijah were both taken to heaven while still alive, and it's appointed to every man to die, but they haven't died yet. They're still alive. So I think they're going to be the two witnesses that die on the streets in Jerusalem at the end. I think that's their death time. I can't prove that. It's not biblical, but it's a good guess. There are only two people that I know of that are still alive. But know that he was never returned. He never came back home. Lady B says, thanks, Jake. Good night, everyone. Good night, everyone. Rest well. Good night, Lady B. You're welcome. Amy says, good night, Lady B. And Judy says, bye, Lady B. Lady B says, love you, Amy. Sweet dreams, prayers. And good night, Judy. Heart. Amanda says, good night, lady. And Lady B says, good night, Amanda. Wow, I got a J-tag. Congratulations. Welcome to the team. Amy says, woohoo, Lady B. Amanda says, woohoo, congratulations, lady. Thanks, and welcome to the J-team. Lady B says, love y'all bunches. We love you too. Prayers. Mabel says, I think people try to correlate our free will with God's plan, but I don't believe it's the plan that changes. The things leading up to the result of the plan change, but not the plan itself. You might be right. I think God has had to modify his course of action a few times, but it's due to the failure of mankind that he's had to do that, and only as a result to not destroy us all. There's been a few times that I'm sure he was well within his rights to just put a kibosh on the whole thing, but he didn't. He showed mercy instead. I think people try to correlate the plan as being one thing, and I don't think it's that simple. I think it's many things simultaneously happening at once, and it's not so easy to put in a box, you know. That's what I think. Who am I? I don't know anything. April says, yay, lady, welcome. Love, woohoo. Amber says, hugs, family. Thank y'all for a wonderful evening. Pleasure, Amber. Thank you for being here. Lady B says, love you, April. Prayers. Amanda says, good night, Amber. Lady B says, good night, Amanda. Mabel says, good night, Amber. Amber says, beautiful message, Jake, on very tough topic. Is that, for sure. I don't know what we're supposed to do with this information. It's probably why it was taken out of the Bible, because I don't think you can do anything with it. It's just, you can know it, and it makes a lot of things clearer, but I don't think it changes anything. Lady B says, Nog. Gorb, your turn. Lady B says, good night, Amber, heart. Amber says, Mabel, Hannah, hearts and unicorns. Amber says, Lady B, I'm stealing it. Hug you. I'm stealing it. Hug you got here while he was reading. Lady B says, we all need Jesus. We got to have more grace. April says, amen. Prayers. Amber says, Amy, please let me know you're safe. Amy says, I'm safe. Lady B says, Amber, smiley. Amber says, and home, Amy. Amy says, I'm safe and I'm home. Amber says, thank you, Amy. I love you, Miss Lady, ma'am. Hearts. Judy says, bye, Amber. Lady B says, love you more, Amber. Heart, heart, heart. Amber says, my feed dropped. I thought Jake said bye. Not yet. I might have said bye, but it was to someone who was leaving. April says, and then put it under your pillow, LOL. Joke. And then put what under your pillow? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can. That won't make it work, but writing it down is what makes it work. But yeah, you could put it under your pillow. Then you just have a wrinkled paper. Lady B says, yeah, I was leaving, but Jake got interesting again. Well, I kept coming back. That's because I'm a smart fella that knows things. I'm very interesting. I'm just hard to keep up with. Lady B says, Jake and Amanda, heart, 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 heart. Amber says, Judy, heart, smiley face and prayers. Kevin says, did Adam and Eve understand good and evil before eating the forbidden fruit? Question mark. Yes and no. Adam was fully briefed on what God wanted and expected of him. He was highly, highly intelligent. When we think of him being created out of the clay, that he was just a dummy that didn't know anything, innocent. God created him fully prepared. He was able to name all of the animals in a day. You can't do that unless you're highly educated and understand what you're looking at. So he was busy, and he was fully informed on what God wanted, and so was Eve. But Eve was talking to the snake. Now, before you go any further, why I said no was there was no fruit being eaten. They had sex. That's what happened in the Garden of Eden. If you don't believe me, go back and read it, and I'll cover it in a couple of weeks, and I'll point it out when we get to it. That's what happened. Eve had sex with Satan, and so did Adam. The difference here is Eve was completely seduced by Satan. He tricked her all the way. He filled her head full of nonsense, and she bought it hook, line, and sinker. Adam, on the other hand, knew exactly what he was doing, and he did it anyway. That's why he got punished too. And that's why the punishment was so severe and have to do with the reproductive organs and childbearing and all of that. So yes, he did understand good and evil. And matter of fact, one of the first things God said to him was, here's the trees. Now remember, trees are symbolic of people, just like stars are symbolic of angels, right? So when Genesis talks about the trees, it's talking about groups of people. So Adam and Eve were not the only people on earth. They were the first of the Adamic bloodline, but they were not the first people. God created all the races and saw that it was good. So they were all there. And what God said was, you can partake of all the trees in the garden. They're all good to eat, metaphorically speaking. Don't touch that one, though. That one is evil. If you touch that one, the day you touch it, you'll die. That was Satan. Because the tree of life is Jesus, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is Satan. They were both in the garden. And that is verified in the Bible. Jesus talks about being in the garden, talks about Satan being in the garden, and another place in the Bible puts Satan in the garden. You were here since the days of Eden, right? I forget what book it's in. I think it says Isaiah, but I'm not sure. But all that is corroborated by the Bible all the way through. So, yes, Adam and Eve knew what they were doing was wrong, and they did it anyway, and they deserved what they had. Amanda says, I have a new addition to our family. My great niece was born this afternoon at 4:44 a.m., weigh 8 pounds, 3 ounces. Her name is Freya Renee, and she is absolutely beautiful, and I'm excited. Aw. Congratulations and welcome to the world, Freya Renee. You are totally going to be called Freya Renee. Kevin says, congratulations, Amanda. Amy says, congratulations, Amanda. Judy says, congratulations, Amanda. Amanda says, thank you. I will share pictures later on in chat on the Facebook page. Amy says, the Sphinx was about half human, half lion body. I agree with you there, except not the Sphinx. What happened there was, if you'll go look through Egypt, there are sphinxes all over the place, but they all have a jackal head, the long pointy nose with the tall ears. So that sphinx did too. And somehow or other it got broken. And so instead of destroying it, they just carved the Pharaoh's face on it, which is why the head is smaller than the body. It's out of proportion because they just had a little bit of rock left to work with. So they carved the Pharaoh's head instead of the sphinx with the jackal head. The sphinx is a known animal, and it has a jackal's head with a lion's body, which is also the thing you're talking about. So yes, but know that it's the sphinx that we have today. The reason it has a human head is because it got broken. But yes, because it is one of those hybrid animals. If that makes any sense. But there's a lot of those in Egypt, hybrid animals. And I think they're trying to tell us something. I think those things existed in some kind of way. So we shouldn't wear makeup. I wouldn't say that. I don't think you need to wear makeup, but if you want to, that's fine. We would have eventually figured all this stuff out anyway. They just hurried it all up. They taught mankind things that they would have eventually figured out anyway. They taught them in a time when they didn't need to know it. Amy says, cute baby. And Judy says, so cute, Amanda. Lady B says, congrats, Amanda. And Amanda says, thank y'all, or thank you all. And she looks like her mama. God's beautiful blessings. Babies are the best. I don't think, talking about makeup, I think if you're not in business, you shouldn't be advertising. That's what I think. If you are in business, though, I don't think there's any harm in advertising. If you got it, flaunt it. And I don't think there's anything sinful about wearing makeup other than that's what prostitutes do. And if you dress like that, you should be expected to be treated like that. That's the only thing I can think of that's wrong with it. The Bible does mention it a couple of times about women painting their faces all up and adorning themselves with jewels and things to make themselves desirable, which is, you shouldn't do that. Moderate, tasteful. I mean, lots of people wear makeup and it's quite tasteful. Lots of people wear makeup and they look like $3 whores. I guess it's a matter of moderation. It's not for me. I'm not going to judge you if you wear makeup. I don't think that matters to me, but I'm not going to judge a man for having long hair either. But the Bible says you shouldn't. So I guess my answer would be, if it's a sin, it's not a sin against the spirit. It's not a sin against salvation. It's not a salvation issue. It might be a sin to the flesh, but it's not a sin to keep you from going to heaven. I hope that helps. Lady B says, nerves and nephews are so fun. I had one start college this year and graduate high school this year. Nice. And Lady B says, Nietzsche's autocorrect. Yeah. Aaron says, yep, Enoch was interesting, and it was beautifully read. Thank you, Aaron. I'm not done. We got a long way to go. It's a long book. Nieces and nephews. Got it. Amanda says, yep, I love my niece to pieces. Nieces to pieces. Lady B says, my niece Amelia, she loves to shop like her aunt. Lau. Amelia. Is her middle name Bedelia by chance? Amelia Bedelia? A Bedelia? Amy says, with your J tags, you can watch the Hyperbole series. That's right. And there's more coming on that, too. I just got to get around to writing it. Takes a lot more work than you think it would. Judy says, what, Amy? Hyperbole. Hyperbole is a series that I do for the members. Go watch it. You got a J tag. It's in the member section. Amy says, Judy, go to the channel and look at the playlist, select members only, and you can watch that with a membership. Judy says, oh, okay, thanks. Jake does more than this? Yeah. Amanda says, it's because of Eve we go through so much pain during labor. Yes, and it's because of Eve that you bleed once a month. Why? Because it was her womb that was part of the sin in the first place. Amy says, everything in moderation, even moderation. Amen. Aaron says, does anybody else in the Bible have the last name Christ? And how did he get this name? Okay, Christ is not a name, it's a title. The word Christ comes from the Greek Christos, and it means the anointed one. Jesus is a misnomer. His name was Joshua. So his name was probably Joshua ben Joseph, or Bar Joseph, or Carpenter, something like that, if they had last names in those days. If he lived today, that would be his name. But Jesus is a reference from Greek that means God with us, like Emmanuel. It's just a different way of saying the same thing. And for some reason it stuck, probably because in the early days, Christians were hunted and they met in secret and they used code words like the ichthus or the fish symbol to describe being a Christian. Before crosses, they used fish. So the word Christ means the anointed one of God, and his name Joshua means God with us. So the anointed one of God with us here on earth. That's what his name means. Hope that helps. Christ isn't our last name, it's a title. Got to put my little foxy slippers back on. My feces is getting cold. That's better. Aaron says, that's excellent. I never knew that. Oh, buddy, wait till we get to Genesis 1:1. I'm going to blow your mind with the first verse of the Bible, the first line. I'm probably going to spend the first lesson on that line, the whole hour, on the first line. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, period. I can do a whole hour or more on that line. You just wait. I'm going to open your mind to things you never even knew existed. Aaron says, those rats on your feet? Yes. Amy says, people uses their occupations as last names, like Smith or Carpenter or Barber, etc. At a certain period of time they did, yes. Either where you're from, such as Mary of Magdalene. Magdalene is the place. Or yeah, you get what I'm saying. No, that's the wrong thing. Mary of something, I can't remember. But yeah, like that. John of Patmos. John Patmos would be his name. Anytime you see the word of, and then the word after it would be a last name in modern times. So where they're from, or their mother or father's title, or their occupation, or something about them would be used that way. Surnames came about in the Middle Ages, so then we would have two names, you know. But in the old days, you just have one name. That's why I say Bar Joseph, which means son of Joseph, or Ben Joseph, which also means son of Joseph in a different language, or Carpenter. Lady B says, my niece Amelia Grace. The grandmother's name was Grace Dahl. They took her first name. Yeah. Amelia Bedelia is a book about Amelia Earhart. Matter of fact, Aaron, if you get time, look up episode 422 and watch the first part of that. That'll give you some idea what's coming January 1st. Episode 422 of this show. I think you'll enjoy it. Amanda says, woohoo, bottom of the jet. And Lady B says, Jake, are you going to go over Jesus' birthday for Christmas? Well, considering he was born in September, probably not. But I'll probably do something, as I usually do. Aaron says, 422, got it. I think you'll like that. How do I know he was born in September? Well, when he was an infant, he was born in a manger outside. If it was wintertime, that probably wouldn't have been a good idea. They were also traveling to fill out a census at that period of time. And they were trying to stay at an inn in town and couldn't, so they had to stay outside in a manger. Amy says, love episode 420. It's a good episode, isn't it? I'm going to redo it, but better this time. The wasn't the best quality last time. I was just getting the hang of the camera and all that then. And so I had a little bit of audio issue and a little bit of cutting and dropping issue. This time I'm going to do it right. I am going to do something over Christmas, though, because everybody needs somebody to be around during Christmas, and there might be people out there that don't have a family or don't have plans, or maybe they're out of town and need somebody to just hang out with. So I'm going to do something over Christmas, just like I did over Thanksgiving. All right, that's the bottom of the chat, and it's turned 34, and I got to go to bed and go to work in the morning. Lady B says, thank you, Jake. Christmas tree. My pleasure. All right, I love you all from the bottom of my heart. I do. I've enjoyed this read. I think it's interesting, and I think it's worth knowing about. So come see me tomorrow, and we'll finish this portion out and start on the next portion. Get on to the next week. Have a great night. God bless you all. When you go out into the world tomorrow, be nice to somebody. I promise you, it'll change your life and it'll change their life too. It's the best thing you can do. Amanda says, good night all. See you tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on Untethered Live for some Bible study. Much love, y'all, or Enoch study. Amy says, back during early episodes, you let the chat interrupt the reading too. Yeah, I'm working on that a little bit also. Aaron says, I would like that. I would need somebody on Christmas. I'll be there. You can believe that. I'll be there, and we'll do something together. Amy says, good night, y'all. Good night, y'all. See you tomorrow. Kevin says, good night, all. Kevin, my friend, God bless you, sir. Stay safe, and don't work too hard. And Aaron, fear not. You're with family on Christmas. All right? All right, and I love you guys. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for watching.